It's in you. You possess the power.
Take the risk or lose the chance. Yasmine Buenaseda.
Just go hard. I need some motivation. Every day I try a little harder, but my dedication. Keep my head way, way above the water. Proud of myself when I yell at the wall. Begging to run, but I needed to crawl. I see the finish line up ahead, trying to get traction from all of this tread.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast that helps you be the leader. I'm Jeramiah Solven, and I'm your host. Hey, if this is your first time listening, this is a podcast that we've put together and designed to help you succeed and win. We're going to touch on a variety of different topics. Some are going to be about leadership. Some are going to be about high performance. Some are going to be about mindset, goal setting, and achievement. But it's all designed so that we give you the tools that you need to succeed. Because as we know, there's a lot of ups and downs on the path to achievement, and the route can be very, very difficult. And we want to get you and your team to victory. Whether that's now with that team, that could be just your family. It could be your coworkers. You could be a 7-8 figure entrepreneur, but we all have a team. We're all trying to drive them to success. And so this is a podcast that's designed to help get you there and them in one piece and have a hell of a time doing it. So I have an awesome guest today. I want to say thanks for all you guys that have jumped on and continue to listen and continue to share the podcast. It means a lot. And I wanted to bring on somebody, special to me, somebody that I had some history with, somebody that I knew personally. And I'm really, really excited because it's somebody that I can relate to, because they have a similar story in failing forward. Okay. Failing their way to the top. And, I never really related to the person that had things super easy, their path to success, where it was just spoon fed to them. That never really resonated with me. And so I'm always in search for other people that have put in the hard work, have rolled up their sleeves, and through all adversity, continue to push and get what they set out to. And so today's guest is a very special one. She's an extremely hard worker, a working professional who's managed multiple projects at once. I see her really as an entrepreneur in her core, even though she's kind of getting into that. It's kind of a new development for her. But she has all the similar characteristics that you find in the highly successful entrepreneurs that are out there. She's a mother, and she's a very accomplished military officer. Okay. She's special operations command qualified. She served in civil affairs, and she succeeded in a very, very difficult assignment when others failed. And she didn't. She continued to press forward, and she succeeded. So I'm excited to share her story and some lessons learned about just grinding it out, pushing through failure, and ending up on top. So ladies and gentlemen, Yasmine Buenaseda. Yasmine, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
I am really excited for today.
Me too.
I'm really excited because, you're one of those people that you're very humble, and I think that you're very forward looking. And this is a chance not only for us to connect, because guys, we actually knew each other in ROTC, and so it's a good chance for us to get caught up. But I know you're so forward thinking that your success is really a result, I think, of subconscious behaviors, things that you aren't even really aware that you're doing. We started talking recently, and I was like, hey, let's talk about some stuff that you've accomplished. And you started sharing it with me, and you're telling me the story and telling me the story and telling me the story. And I had to look at you in the face, and I was like, you realize that's not normal for people to do that, right? Like I'm really excited to dive in today. I really am. And I hope you are too.
Yeah, no, I am. And it's normal for me, so I just live in my own world where that's normal.
For somebody that's on the outside and looking in, and maybe, if you're explaining it to a 10-year-old, could you kind of shape your background, your military history, so they have a full understanding of some of your achievements and what you've done?
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with ROTC college, right? So I went to Cal Poly Pomona for college, pursued a computer science degree. While I was in college, I simultaneously did senior ROTC, which is the one where you actually sign a contract and say, hey, I plan to join the military as an officer after I graduate. So I did that program for 4 years. After leaving ROTC, graduating college, I commissioned as a second lieutenant. And from there, I basically started my career as an officer in the Army. I got the pleasure of staying at my school for a little bit as a recruiter. And that's something that they give people in between time, if you have a long time before going on to your follow-on school for your training. And after that, I moved on to my job as an not S1, as an adjutant general, but in civilian terms, it's kind of like the Army's version of human resources.
Yeah, we're gonna have a fun time trying to stay away from acronyms on
this.
Yeah. I'll be both of us guys. If we say something, some acronym, we're gonna do our best not to use them, but just I guess just get on Google if it confuses you, but we'll work our way not to.
And it's funny because we do more than S1, but that's just what it automatically connects to. But yeah, so my branch in commissioning was adjutant general, human resources. I did that for about 3 years, 3.5 years. And then I moved on to civil affairs, which is, as you mentioned earlier, a branch of special operations in the Army.
And what do you do now? Can you kind of share a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, so now I am a project manager for VMware. It's a tech company out of Palo Alto in California, but I work remotely here in Georgia.
Awesome. And what do you guys specialize in? What do you guys focus on?
So the focus is virtualization, and it's basically we have a ton of products now. So our breadth is very wide, but what VMware started as and what they're known for is virtualization. And that is taking compute, storage, and memory or networking. So pieces of a data center and consolidating it down by virtualizing the machines onto other machines. Gets a lot more complex, but
so is nerd stuff.
Yeah.
And then we did talk about, hey, you were in, civil affairs, you got into special operations command. And what about military schools that you went to? What are some of the schools that you hit while you were in the military?
Oh, okay. So let me see. Started with my basic officer course where I learned the adjutant general stuff. I did airborne, jumpmaster, SEER. I had to go through selection to get into civil affairs. Once selected, I had to go through the qualification course, combatives, level 1 and 2, language for Tagalog, and a couple other ones I can't remember at the moment, but those are the main ones.
Yeah, if you guys aren't picking up everything that she's saying, some of the highlights there, she's been to language school for the military, and that Tagalog is it's Filipino, right?
Tagalog,
I'm probably brutal. I'm probably destroying the way you pronounce it.
Yeah, Tagalog is a Filipino language, correct?
Okay. And then Jump Master, you said. You also said SEER, which for somebody that doesn't know SEER, survival. What does it stand for exactly? It's a survival school, but what is it?
Survive, evade, resist, escape.
Yeah. And that is a really difficult school. I know guys that I served with in regiment that went and they came back and they had like some really the toughest people I ever met in my life. They come back and they just have this 1,000-yard stare because they're like traumatized from it. And I know it's a very difficult school. Out of all the schools you've been to, which one was the most difficult in your opinion?
I mean, the most difficult for me would be the qualification course, just because it took me so many times to pass it. Probably not like the hardest in the components that it was made up of, but it was difficult for me for having to do it a couple of times.
Yeah. And we're going to get into that in detail. So do you have any idea how many people, like what the attrition rate or success rate is for somebody that commissions? I'm trying to shape the contrast for somebody that comes into the military. You graduated with how many? Do you know how many officers you graduated with? Our class was 2012, and there was probably, I don't know, a couple thousand, right, for each branch.
Oh yeah, like every year it's a couple thousand. Well, in 2012 when we commissioned, it was like 2,000 or 3,000 that went active duty. Yeah,
and then how many of those do you think go on to go to civil affairs selection, and then how many of those do you think make it?
So I have the exact number of selection, at least from my course, and that was 35 out of 79. The amount that actually go into special operations, I think is like 1%. Yeah.
So guys, this is like 1% of the 1% of the 1%. We're talking about out of a few thousand military officers that graduated in her branch. A very select few are going to go down the civil affairs pipeline, and then even fewer of those are going to go on and serve in SOCOM. And Yasmine was one of those. So hell of a ride, quite the accomplishment. And I'm really excited to dive into that. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to focus on today. I want to talk a little bit about a few things. I want to talk a little bit about your personal story, the ups and the downs and the success that you've had in the military, and then a little bit about family leadership. I think if we cover those topics today, somebody that's listening is going to be able to walk away with some good actionable steps to help them succeed really holistically. What I want to start off with is just a little bit about your upbringing. So where can you kind of just shape, the first, where you're from and what life was like prior to getting into college?
Yeah, so I'm originally from California, lived there most of my life before the military. I did have a stint in Vegas for 3 years when I moved there with my grandma and my dad. I come from divorced parents. I have one full sister, one half sister. I think my parents divorced when I was like 4, 5, something like that. And from there, me and my sister, we lived with our dad and grew up with my dad's side of the family. I did have a very large, my dad has 12 brothers and sisters. So we had a lot of cousins. We would all get like thrown into grandpa's house, and whoever was around not working was like the babysitter.
Yeah.
But because of the range in age, we also had, I think my youngest aunt is actually younger than me. But my oldest is like my dad's age. So we had some in the middle that were the kids, like maybe 16, 15, and they would be our babysitters most of the time. So I grew up with a really strong family connection with my cousins. But when we were like just me and my sister with my dad and my grandma not there for summers or whatever, it was kind of just me, my dad, grandma were always really busy working. So I grew up a little fast, took care of me and my sister.
Yeah. Yeah. So big family, hardworking family is what it sounds like. And then where at what point did you decide that you were gonna serve in the military?
I decided that I was going to serve in the military when I was in college. So that's a funny story. I was in high school. Like I was always on the path to college. That's like a family thing. We were all going to college. My mom used to tell me, "You're going to college. I don't know how you're going to pay for it, but you are going to college."
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying for it, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And when I was a junior, senior in high school, she had suggested, she's like, "Hey, there's this program. It's like Army ROTC. You get free college and then you go and join the military." I was like, "Mom, I am not joining the Army. Are you crazy? Like, I'm not going to go out there and get shot. I'm not joining the Army. I can't believe you want your daughter to join the military." So fast forward like 2 years, I'm in college, freshman. I don't remember if I was a freshman or sophomore when I joined ROTC, but I was living in the dorms, just a normal college kid, gaining my freshman 15, looking for sports or something more, because I was always wanted to be involved in things. And there were a couple of people in my dorm who were always talking about ROTC and how they wanted to join. It was someone who did computer science with me and I was pretty good friends with, and it started piquing my interest. And so I was like, you know what? I want to check this out. I want to see what this is. And I did a class and history was right from there. I did another class and then I signed a contract.
So what was it? I think this is important because a lot of people are kind of, there's a lot of different people that listen to the podcast. And sometimes there are people that are in school. Could be somebody that's in maybe a senior in high school. Could be somebody that's in college. It could be somebody that's, running their own company, but everybody is constantly kind of choosing what direction to go in life. And when you look back on your decision to sign up and get into the military, do you, how did you make that decision? Because I feel like it served you well. You're very, it built you into the woman that you are today. And I think a lot of people look at things in their life and they talk themselves out of it, right? They look at the military, you see this quite a bit, and they're like, that looks awesome, but I'm going to go ahead and go this way. And they talk themselves out of their dream, but you said yes when others would say no. So just looking at that moment, what pulled you into the military, do you think? Was it a logical decision or more emotional?
It was a combination. So I think what got me to sign up in the first place was hearing about it socially, but I had an out. I didn't have to sign a contract right away. I got to try it and see if I liked it. And I was looking for something more. I was looking for camaraderie. I was looking for physical activity. I played basketball in high school and track, and I like to be a part of a team. Mm-hmm. And so I got to try this ROTC thing. It challenged me. I met great high performing people who had similar mindset to what I had. And I just kind of fell in love with it. So once I joined and I realized like these are the people that I can work with in the future. And it started filling my buckets for that need of team and camaraderie and challenging me. Because when I first started ROTC, I took like a diagnostic APFT, which is a physical fitness test. I could run because I played basketball. So I did like a 15-minute 2-mile, and then I did 1 push-up and 0 sit-ups. So then that started challenging me. Like, I knew I could do more than that. So I was like, I'm going to do it just to pass. So that kind of challenged my physical side. And it filled all my buckets. And I just kind of kept going. And then, so I guess that's the emotional side, right? The emotional side is that it filled my buckets. I really enjoyed the people I was with and the leadership. I still kind of had an out because if I wanted to go into the reserves after, I could.
Yeah.
And the logical side was I got a scholarship. It paid for my college.
Yeah, it made sense. But really what it did for you is you chose a path of growth. You were looking for growth. You were kind of in this spot in school, looking, kind of feeling maybe out of place or just missing something. Like you said, you keep referring to these buckets that you have. And, but you decided to get on the offensive with it, not just the defensive, and find something that helped you out. For somebody that maybe isn't going to join the military, but that is searching for the same feeling. Okay. Somebody that, because we're coming out of the pandemic. I think a lot of people are feeling the same type of way. People are feeling like they want camaraderie. They're feeling like they want team. They want to be pushed. They want to grow. And they're kind of figuring out how to go about doing that. If you could speak to that person, what's something simple that they can start doing to fill their buckets with community, team, and some of the things that you were seeking when you joined the military?
I think the first thing would be to like identify what it is that makes them feel unfulfilled. So I knew that I wanted the athletic. I knew that I wanted that team. And from there, once you know what it is you're kind of looking for, even if it's not exact, you just have to start looking for things. For me, it was word of mouth. We had internet, but I wasn't on Google looking up every single thing from my cell phone back then. It was just word of mouth. Someone talked about it. It sounded like something good, and I went for it. Now, when I identify something in my life where I want to make a change, or I just want to see what's out there for me to try, I jump on Google, I start searching things locally, type in my zip code, and you just got to try it. You have to try it and test it to see whether or not it's going to stick.
Yeah, I really like the formula there, which is one, identify what you're missing. Like if you're feeling some type of way, what is that feeling teaching you?
Right.
What is that teaching me about myself? Well, it means I need X, Y, and Z. Okay, now I have the problem, and I can solve it with a solution, and I can do that with testing things. And I think that, a lot of people are afraid to go out and do things because of the commitment that comes with them. They're like, oh, if I go once, I'm going to be stuck there for life. You see that with guys in jujitsu and MMA. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with going out and experimenting and figuring out what sticks on you and what doesn't. Right. So really good lessons there. Now, the college life was fast and furious for you, right? The degree that you were chasing was not an easy degree. Just talk a little bit about that. Like what was your major again? And what was that path like?
Yeah, I swear I'm a masochist. I just make everything hard for me on purpose. Everyone around me. So for those who don't know, when you're going through ROTC, when it comes time to commission and get your branch, a lot of it depends on your GPA. So logically, a lot of people who did ROTC, not just with me, but in general, went for a poli-sci degree, a history degree, something that was a little less technical and a little easier to do well in, to get that higher GPA and get the branch that they want. I was determined to get this computer science degree. So it took me 5 years when it's supposed to take 4. I did physics multiple times. And I actually at one point switched majors to computer information systems, which goes from the School of Science to the School of Business and takes away some of the more difficult science and math classes. But after doing a couple classes in computer information systems, I decided it wasn't for me and went back to computer science. Yeah. So school was difficult. It was even more difficult once I hit my 3rd year of ROTC, where it really gets intensive.
What was the hardest part? What was the hardest part with all of that you were going? You're talking about you shifted degrees a couple of times. Mm-hmm. We're redoing classes several times, and we have this vision of getting this degree that we pictured ourselves getting. Through all that, what was the most difficult part for you?
The most difficult part was probably my junior and senior year, when I had a lot of classes stacked and I really had no choice. Well, in my head, it was no choice. Like, don't sleep, finish school, get your degree. You have to commission, you signed a contract. So it was really like I had no out. I couldn't just push my classes aside or make it easier. I was stacking almost double a full-time load in order to get myself graduated on time.
So it was just a ton of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And what were the thoughts going on inside your head at that time?
I had to identify where in my life I could pull back a little bit and what priorities were. Everything had its own level of priority. I needed to commission. I needed to graduate. I needed to continue working so I could pay my bills. All of those, and then I guess I didn't need a social life, but I wanted a social life. So I still kind of had one.
Yeah.
So it's prioritizing those things. Each thing took its own priority at a different time.
Yeah. Yeah. So you kind of like I think about when people are doing physical training,
Mm-hmm.
they periodize their training. Hey, I'm going to ramp it up and then I'm going to pull back and I'm going to focus on, maybe I'm going to run every morning for cardio for the next 12 weeks. And then after that, I'm going to switch over to weightlifting. Anyways, they kind of have these cycles where they train. And it sounds like you did that essentially with your schedule. And one of the most difficult parts for you at this time was just managing it all and figuring out how to succeed while juggling all these different projects. Now, you said something really interesting though. You said, I needed to graduate. And there was no suggestion that there was ever like, I could quit. And or like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and say, screw this. I'm not going to follow through on my contract. I'm not going to get a way out. I'm just going to keep moving forward. And I don't think that that's how most people think. I think that most people, if they get into a pinch, they feel like they can always abandon the plan, but that wasn't the case for you. Was that more of a mindset, or was that like literally it was just fact that I couldn't abandon anything that I committed to?
I guess nothing is fact, right? Because I could have quit.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it was a fact, and it must have been a mindset. It was a combination of what I was raised to do, which was graduate college, what I committed to, which was commissioning, and the repercussions if I didn't finish wasn't worth it.
What were you thinking about during that period? What was the image in your mind? Were you thinking heavily about graduating? Were you seeing success, or were you seeing failure? What were you kind of seeing inside of your head while you're grinding college out?
Yeah, I was absolutely thinking about graduating and commissioning.
Okay.
And even at that time, I hadn't decided if I was going active duty. My internship could have turned into a full-time job. It was with Southern California Edison, which is a great company. But walking, right? I was going to walk, I was going to graduate, and then finishing ROTC. Like if I didn't, that was a lot of money I was going to pay back. So that was more of a logical thing.
Yeah.
Plus I wanted to commission.
So for somebody that may be in a similar position, going through what you went through, they had a dream, they had, this belief that they should go to school or whatever it is. It could be, we're talking about school right now, but it could be some trade that their family believes that they should go and do. And they believe in it too. They're chasing a dream for them as well. And they're kind of going through the ups and the downs, and they're taking double the amount of course load that they're supposed to be. What's your advice to that person, to that girl that's going through in that situation that you were in?
So they have to go back to their own mindset. Is it something they need to do? Is it something that they're doing because they want to, and that's where they see their future? Or are they only doing it because someone else told them that they need to? With me, there was never an out, because it was a path I put myself on, and it was the future that I wanted. I didn't ever see another future. I didn't ever think like, oh, well, I don't need to do this. I'll just go, whatever, start my own business because I don't want to do college, right? Yeah. I wanted to do college. I wanted to join ROTC. I could start my own business later, but I never had those out thoughts. Besides, maybe this isn't the degree I want. And I acknowledged that, tested another degree out, and realized, no, this is the degree I want, and went back on my other original path.
Yeah. So you stay true to what you wanted.
Right.
Is that right?
Exactly. Yes.
Do you think that is a huge difference between people that end up finishing something that they set out to and those that don't? How important do you think that is?
I think it's extremely important. If you don't have the dedication and the commitment to what it is you're going towards, if it gets hard, you're going to stop. Why would you keep going if you're not committed to it?
What do you say to somebody that's out, like maybe pursuing a path that is not what they want to do? What do you tell that person? And maybe they have they're basically pursuing a path according to everybody else's expectations. What do you tell that person?
To sit back and think, why once they figure out why, then they need to realize that it's okay. Whoever they think they're going to disappoint, they're not. Like, it's their lives. So they need to figure out what it is that's going to make them happy. And a lot of it's going to be a fear, right? If you're set on a path for however long and you've been pursuing, say I pursued college for 3 years and I hated it and I wanted nothing to do with college and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I could have people who are talking down at me. I could have, my own disappointment in myself because I was supposed to graduate college. But if that's not what I really want, I'll never be happy. I'm pursuing something that I don't even care about. So I would say, figure out what it is that you want and go for it without the fear of whatever repercussions or what may or may not happen. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Don't allow that. What I'm picking up is don't allow fear to stop you. Like figure out, go internal, figure out what you want. And if it's not what other people want for you, you're saying it's not a big deal. You're going to, just because you hurt some people's feelings doesn't mean you're going to destroy relationships. Just go for what you want here.
Right. Exactly.
That's really good advice. And I think that everybody needs to hear that. Okay. So we go through the roller coaster that is school. We're managing, we're probably addicted to caffeine at this point just because we don't know. Oh no, go ahead.
I didn't start coffee until I started my internship. And that's because I was maintaining my 3 a.m. partying life. And then I had to be at work at like 7. So I started drinking coffee then. But I guess there was a lot of energy drinks. So we'll go with that.
All right. Well, so the roller coaster that was school, we end up grinding that out. We mess up some classes. I see you kind of like doing land navigation, where you got these points that are out there and you're trying to figure out your way to one point to the next. And you go to this one point, you're on your way to one point and you're like, you know what, let me just go see if this road will take me there. You go over to the road and you're like, nope, that road won't take me there. Let me go back. Right. And then I go to my point. I finally get to my next milestone. And it's towards the end of college, right? It's you go on to LDAC, you do that, you come back. LDAC is the Leadership Development Assessment course. I know, guys, my bad. You finish up with that, and then you get your commission, right? What happens from there forward with your military career?
So I stay back as a gold bar recruiter for a couple of months, just hang out. Then I move on to BOLIC, which is Basic Officers Leaders course. And it's where all brand new officers go to learn their specific branch. So in my case, it was Adjutant General. It's a 12-week course. I was there learning, studying, PTing, and just integrating myself into the military career.
What were your initial, sorry to just jump in. What were your initial feelings about that leg of your military career? Because you just went through this giant grind. And now all of a sudden you do the gold bar recruiting, which is I'm going to stay at the college and I'm going to do some recruiting. And then I'm going to go to my basic officer leader course. I go there. So you kind of have this like hurry up and wait thing going on. And you're inside of the officer leader course. What was going on in your head at that period of time?
I just had a blast. I was very excited to be commissioned. And again, I chose like towards the end of my senior year to go active duty because I realized I loved being in the military. I love the people and I was ready to start my career. I had a little anxiety because my original duty station was supposed to be Korea and I did not want to go, but hey, it was where I was supposed to go. Ended up getting that changed, but I got to my BOLIC and it was like, my first day of high school. I was excited. I was giddy. I got to meet all these new super seniors, brand new lieutenants. I just graduated college, made all these new friends, and it was a classroom setting. I went to class, did well, wanted to beat everyone at every test, and I did. So I was just continuing to pursue being the best that I can be, but it was just fun. It was fun. And
where does that come from? Where does that competitiveness come from in you? Because I think everybody has a little bit of that inside of them. But I think that your competitiveness is what drove your success in the military, to be completely honest. Your competitiveness with yourself. And I think that if I were to pull out a superpower out of you, I think that you have incredible will. Like a lot of people out there don't have a strong will. They have a weak will. Maybe they have a big imagination. They can see themselves accomplishing something, but when things get tough, they tuck their tail and they go the other way. And I see yours as the opposite. I think you have this giant, fuel source inside of you that is this will. And I want more people to have that competitive nature because I've seen what it can do for people. So for you, being as competitive as you are, where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from my childhood. So big family, lots of cousins. I was always the outcast of everyone. So I spent a lot of time when I was younger, just being, I'm trying to find the word, being like the black sheep, being the one that everyone, put in the corner, didn't care about. So I always had to prove myself. I had to jump myself out of the corner and be like, but I can do this.
Yeah.
But look at me. Somebody look at me.
Yeah.
And I continually just tried to be that valuable person that could figure things out for other people because it would get me that acknowledgement.
Oh, what has that done for that competitiveness that's inside of you? What has that done for your self-image and your confidence?
Oh, my confidence has greatly increased. I definitely was not confident when I was younger, high school, like through high, even through high school, maybe the beginning of college. I was very was never the popular kid. I was always the odd man out. I had like a small group of friends. I was never that confident. I wasn't a great speaker. And I think that ROTC actually did a lot to pull my leadership strength, leadership qualities out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And I think that the competitive nature, everybody has this inside of them, but very few people feed the competitiveness inside of them. Mm-hmm. And for somebody like yourself who believes in proving their worth, I think that's completely healthy. Now, some people will argue it's not. Like he'll say, hey, don't chase achievements because you don't know who you are. And they kind of dog it a little bit. And I think that you need a little bit of both. You need to know that you aren't your achievement, but at the same time, I've seen what chasing things and achievement can do for somebody. And somebody that you show me somebody that succeeds and somebody that has this, I'll prove you wrong mentality. And you show me them and somebody who doesn't have that. Well, the confidence in the person that wants to prove people wrong is 100x of the other person. Everybody wants to feel more confident. So I think that it's a really incredible thing for people to hone in on and to feed the competitive side inside of them. Like they say, they have two wolves on your shoulder, right? One's good, one's bad. And they're like, which one's going to win? Well, the one that you feed. And in this case, it's like feed the confident, aggressive, competitive wolf, and then you'll grow into it. So I think it's just awesome hearing that coming from you. Now shifting over to basic officer leader course, we're very competitive. We want to prove people wrong. And we're also doing it in a very healthy way, but then we keep going. Our military career moves forward. What was the next milestone for you?
Next milestone was first duty station, Fort Lewis, Washington. Got thrown into a position way over my head. So spent lots of late nights in my dungeon office.
What was that?
I was in S1. So that was like the human resources manager for a support battalion in a striker brigade. Okay. So to wrap that up, most S1s, now that we know what that means, run a shop that supports maybe 300-400 people. Mm-hmm. We supported 900 with the same amount of staff.
Okay. So you were one of the senior leaders essentially inside of staff for all 900 people.
Yeah. So I was the senior human resources manager for all 900, but the youngest and least seasoned S1 in the entire brigade.
Guys, listen to that. Like we talk about growing into a position, right? I've said this before on the podcast that the military does a good job of pressuring you and forging you into a leader. And some of it's by design, some of it's just out of necessity and kinks in the machine, essentially. Yeah. But listen to what she said. She said that she got thrown in over her head. And if you're following her path, this is a continuous thing with Yasmine. She was in over her head in college and she rose to the occasion. She was over her head in the military, as you're finding out now, and she's starting to rise to the occasion. Can you imagine? How old were you at this time when you're taking on 900 personnel that underneath your leadership?
22 or 23?
Yeah, 20, early 20s. Guys, what's everybody else doing out there in their early 20s? They're out there making a bunch of bad decisions. They're not leading people. Okay. And the point here is that a lot of times we ask ourselves, hey, how do I become a stronger leader? Well, put your feet to the fire. Okay. The military did that for Yasmine. They put her in a position for her to rise to the occasion. And then she fought her ass off to make it happen. So yeah, share that. Keep going with the story. So you get in this position and you're in over your head. What was some of the responsibilities that you had and what was next?
Yeah. In over my head. So we can say that my entire training of how to be an S1 was the 12 weeks of open book tests and training that I took when I was at Bullet. So now I'm here. My unit is redeploying. There was a senior officer who was in the position before who wasn't cutting it. So they moved him out of the position. Putting myself in over my head, I came in and they were like, hey, we have this unit. They need somebody. You're here. we don't like the person in it. Do you think you can handle it? And of course I'm like, yeah, give it to me. I got it. All the confidence, nothing to back it up yet. But I jump in there and, I figure it out. I have 2 senior NCOs, one who also ended up getting moved out for poor performance, one who tried her hardest. She was great. And then we have 4 brand new privates out of basic who had about as much training as I did, as far as running an S1 shop. And we grinded. We had, 7, 8 o'clock nights, everyone there at 6 a.m., trying to reorganize, set in processes that didn't exist, redeploy a unit, and do all of the things that it's a joke, but it's true in the Army, that if it's no one else's responsibility at the staff level, it goes to the S1.
Yeah.
So I would just get random things thrown at me. And it was all just figuring it out, right? Because I don't know how to do any of this. And my people who are supposed to know how to do it aren't really there. So it was a lot of finding out who knew it in the unit, calling other people, reaching back to people I was in school with. And
how did you keep the morale up in your shop? Because this is important, because a lot of people, and I know that it probably had some times where it was great and it wasn't so great and some stuff like that, but what was your approach leading a team during this really difficult time of adversity?
I tried my best. We definitely didn't have the best morale most of the time. We did once everything got fixed and we started having better hours and things were a lot less stressed. But I think the best way I kept the morale up was that I was top cover. I never let anyone come in and yell at my soldiers for things that, went wrong. We're responsible for pay actions and award actions and evaluations, and everyone feels personally offended when their stuff doesn't go through. And that's okay. I get it. But you don't come in and start attacking people. That's not how you get people. First of all, that's not how you get anything done. And second of all, I took it all, right? Yeah. I never let anyone come in against them. So I tried to protect them from that type of demoralizing. Yeah,
no, that's a great, you called it top cover, which is taking the bludgeoning that comes with being in a leadership position. And I think that I've seen the opposite so many times. I've seen people, leaders on staff, and when they're called out on when their section is called out on whatever issue it was, I see them hide and they run away and they go the other direction and they don't speak up. And then their team below them absorbs the impact. And that discredits the leader tremendously, because everybody sees it happening and that person's trying to be invisible, but we all know that they're there, and it'd be much better for them just to go ahead and toughen up and just take the impact. And I think that speaks volumes about your character, and it speaks volumes about your leadership. And it's a great lesson for everybody to adopt. And that's be the top cover for your team. Take the bludgeoning that goes along with the leadership position. Well said. I want to move along into some of the military, the special operations background, because I think that's what people are going to be very, very interested in. So could you talk us through and fast forward your way? Like when did getting into special operations when did that seed plant inside of your head? When did that happen? And then what was the path there forward?
Yeah. Okay. So fast forward like 2 years of dark dungeon time. And then I realized it was time for me to move. Army officers only stay in a position 18 to 24 months. And I was past when I should have been moved. So, I let everyone know I was looking for a new job. I ended up getting orders to a unit, like a sustainment brigade, which is not where I wanted to be. I felt like I gave the Army my blood, sweat, and tears, and I needed to go where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I started making phone calls to branch to figure out, what interview type, selective positions they had. And I found a position at Fort Bragg in training group, which is the unit that runs all of the special operations courses, as an S1 still. And that was fine with me. I just didn't want to go to sustainment. I wanted to go airborne. I wanted to do all the cool, fun stuff. And I wanted to go to a new unit and be around that higher caliber of soldier. Yeah. Right. So there was another stop in me there is I had orders. They wanted my commander to sign paperwork. I had let myself get really out of shape in my own little depression of dark dungeon time.
Yeah.
And so my brigade commander basically told me that he wasn't going to let me go. He wasn't going to sign the paperwork for me to go unless I could prove to him that I could do a pull-up and run 5 miles in 45 minutes, because that's the standard for airborne school. The pull-up is, and then the 5 miles, 45 minutes is kind of the Army standard. So I just trained my ass off for a month, got myself to airborne school, finished it, went to Fort Bragg. I'm in training group as an S1. I meet all of the people. I decide then that, hey, I want to do this. Like, I don't want to be a staff person anymore. I want to be on the ground. I want to be high speed and hua, and I want to be on a team, and I want to work with all of these like great, amazing people that I'm working with now.
Well, yeah, you're
forever.
searching for growth again. You're searching for growth again.
Yeah. Wasn't happy with where I was at. Could have continued S1 command time, but it was like right in front of me, right? So while I was in S1, I actually had the opportunity to go to SEER school. I jumped all the time. I did all of as many cool things and fun things as I could while I was still in S1. Made the decision that I wanted to be special operations, but it was past my timeline. So officers have a block of time where they're allowed to apply to go to a special operations course. And it's just because we're promoted on timeline. So everything on an officer's career is very timeline focused. I missed the submission packet for being able to go to selection, but figured out how to do an out of year group packet, which is like basically, hey, an exception to policy, let me go. Got it signed, got it approved, and now I'm at selection.
Yeah, this is, guys, this is so, if you're not listening closely here, this is a story about figuring it the F out and aligning yourself with what you want. Okay. I can't tell you how many times I saw people miss their window, or things, the conditions were not ideal for them to get what they wanted, and they opted out. They deselected themselves from the path ahead. I saw that becoming a ranger. I've seen it in entrepreneurship, and people encounter these little roadblocks. Okay. Whether it's a career timeline or whatever it is, maybe they're trying to buy a house and they get told no from the bank. The bank tells them that they're not going to give them a loan. And then they just put their tail between their legs and they go the other direction. If you're listening to what a high performer and somebody that succeeds at a high level has, what they do is they don't quit. Obviously that's a recipe. It's part of this formula for success, but they know what they want. And then they convince themselves there's always a way. We're going to figure it the F out, figure it the fuck out. I'll just say it right now.
There's always a way.
There's always a way. So I can't tell you how many times, like I said, I've seen that. And there's a lot of young officers out there. There's a lot of people in their careers right now that are hitting these roadblocks. I'm telling you guys, if you have the will, you've heard this before too, there's a way. There is always a way. So Yasmine knows what she wants. She knows she's not afraid of hard work. She's not afraid of getting told no. She's not afraid of rejection. She's like, okay, yep, I got that. You're telling me no. I'm going to go this direction instead. And we want growth again. We know what we're looking for. So we say, hey, we get our sights set on getting into Special Operations Command and Civil Affairs, and we head that direction. Go ahead and talk us through that.
Okay, so got everything signed, decided that I was going to go to selection, went to selection, performed the best that I could. And I got selected 35 out of 79. Think of those 35, 4 or 5 were girls. It's a 10-day course.
So out of 70, sorry, say those numbers again. Out of 75 that attended, there was probably 3 to 5 women.
No, out of 79 that attended, 35 were selected.
Yep.
Out of the 35 that selected, I think it was 4 of those 35 were women.
Wow. Okay. Keep going.
All right. So I get selected. I come out of selection. And that was one of the first times I got a first time go of something. So I come back and now I'm like fired up. I'm ready to go. This is what I think you were talking about, like action takers the other day. You're like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Send me.
Yeah.
My mind was completely checked out. I didn't want to do my human resources anymore. I wanted to get started. So I call branch. Hey, when's the next course? How can I start? The next course was in like 2 weeks. So I'm like, all right, cool. Talk to my boss. He's like, he was getting ready to change duty stations also. And me and him were like co-running the shop. I was his assistant. So he's like, I'm going to take command. Like, you can't leave until there's a replacement. So what do? I use my S1 skills to figure out who on Fort Bragg is ready to move into a new job as an S1. And then I send them all emails like, hey, I have a position in the under special operations as an S1. Are you interested? So I get a couple replies back and find somebody whose command is willing to let them go, who's ready to move, who had orders somewhere else, but they signed it off, and got them in like the next couple of days to come take my spot so I could train them.
So good. So good. Guys, people often think that the grass is greener on the other side and that they are They allow their decisions to be made from the external. When people tell them no, they can't do stuff, they accept those, and then they get results that are congruent with that feedback. But few people lead their lives from the inside out. And that's what we did here. We said, hey, this is what I want, and let me move myself to it. And then I find solutions once again to accomplish it. So you got to use the resources available to you, right? I think that's the biggest lesson from this little segment, is that you have the resources right now. You just got to get more resourceful. And it's looking around and figuring out what that it looks like in your exact situation, because there is a way. All right.
And I would add on to that real quick is you have to also always ask the why. You have to understand the why. If someone's saying no, it's not just a no. And if you know the why, you can appease that and get your way.
That's so true. That is so true. I spoke with a young man about that yesterday. He got denied on his VA home loan. He's a young guy that I know from my childhood. He called me and he's like, hey, they're telling me no for the X, Y, and Z reason. I said, dude, have them tell you all the reasons why that they're not going to give it to you. And then go, now you have the answers to the test. I said, now you put down the plan to get them to say yes, because you have all the answers. Beautifully said there, Yazz. All right. So we passed selection, and then what's next for us? What happens next?
All right. So I found my replacement, trained her up in about a week. She still has my email. I can still come help. And I am in my CCC, the start of the Q course, like the next week. So I start CCC. So one of the more difficult ones is basically for me as an S1 officer.
Yeah, this is the captain's career course, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Captain's career course. Every time you promote in the military, I think enlisted or officer, once you hit NCO, you have to go to a school to
advance, to grow, learn about the next job.
Advance, learn. Yeah. So I'm now in my second one. The first one was basic officers. I moved from lieutenant, about to be a captain, and now I'm in captain's career course. So normally captain's career course is focused on the job that you're doing. So I ideally would have been back at the S1 AG captain's career course, but because I'm now selected, I'm starting the special operations captain's career course, which is a condensed version of the infantry captain's career course. So for a lot of guys who were in there, it was really easy for them. It's all stuff that they've known and done. For me, it was definitely a steep learning curve. Had to learn a lot about distances that missiles could be launched and lots of things I didn't know, but everyone was super helpful and it was a great course. It was, again, like first day of high school, starting something new again that I really wanted to do.
Yeah, you went from being an expert in human resources and managing a team at the staff level and being great at it, and now you're learning combat arms at an advanced level, and you're like, okay, guys, I'm gonna figure this out, right? Again, in over my head, this is the pattern that Yazz has for achievement, and this is the recipe, guys. You want to figure out a way to grow, get in over your head and FitFo. So we're in there, and what happens next?
We do good. We go to class every day. We humble ourselves, humble myself, and ask for lots of help, learn everything I need to learn, get through everything. And then I officially am almost ready to pin captain, right? So you make the list in the military, and then a couple months-ish later, whenever your number comes up, you are able to pin. Traditionally, there's some kind of promotion ceremony. I didn't really care that much about it, but my dad, I knew he'd be super proud, and it's something he would want to see. So I waited like 2 or 3 months to pin till I could fly him out here. And I was going to do a little promotion ceremony with him here. Plus it was time for him to come see me and my sister anyways. And we were both over on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So we're 10, 11 weeks in. I'm in the last week, the week before the last week of the course, right before we're about to go into our culminating exercise, which is our final exam. It's like a practical final exam. And I fly him out here to do my promotion ceremony, and he starts having all kinds of pain. So I had to pull myself out of class for a day. We took him to the hospital. He ended up in surgery. And he had a previous medical history. He's had a couple surgeries.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the best of health, but he made it through the surgery fine. Overnight, he was in recovery. I was going back and forth from class to the hospital because I had a week left. I wasn't going to redo it. I had to finish the course. And he ended up passing away overnight before the promotion ceremony happened. Or I think I did. We pinned my jacket in the hospital room, but he ended up passing away, which obviously had me pull out of the course because I had to go take care of my family. So I think I had a couple weeks before the next course even started, pulled out, went on emergency leave, dealt with the funeral, dealt with family stuff, came back. And then it was time to go back into Triple C again.
Yeah. I know this is a tough subject, and I promise not to get too deep because I know
holding the tears back here, but go ahead.
Yeah. But I want to help out somebody that's going through, maybe they can come back and listen to this part future about getting through a difficult time when they're focused on a goal that they have. Okay. And so this person, family is extremely important to them. They have something that has happened inside of their family. They have a goal that they're working on. What's a lesson that you learned during that process that you can share with them to help them get through that portion of their life?
So I guess the one thing that I could have changed, live life with no regrets, but I could have changed is that I was very driven and focused. So to me, he was fine. He was good. And instead of spending that time with him and letting, because they offered, they're like, do you need to recycle? Like, your dad's in surgery. You can recycle. You can just come into the next course. It's nothing against you. But I was like, no, I'm good. So I was just going back and forth. I didn't even spend the night in the hospital that night. My sister was there. So I ended up waking up to a call with her, like telling me that, they read that he coded. She woke up and he was already passed away, but they were still trying to revive him. And I probably, like, hindsight, should have pulled myself out of the class and been there for my family instead of.
No, I think that everybody, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right.
Everybody's going to make the best judgment they can in the time that they're in. And you have an optimistic mindset is what you have. Yeah. And that comes, you're a human being. And so we're not going to do life entirely perfect, but what did you do right during that period that you're proud that you did? You went through this really difficult time between father getting sick, passing away, and then getting back on track for the mission, the goal that you have in mind. And I think a lot of people in that situation would shut down and they would just go back. They might even get out of the military in that case. You did some things right. From my lens, you were there for your family. And not only that, but you got back on track you stayed focused on the goal because this is one person in your family and you have a family that you're supporting, but your vision for success feeds your future family too. Yeah. So there's some things that you did right during this period. And I think that we can pull those out for somebody that may be going through a difficult time with their family.
So I don't know that I did it right in the sense that you're thinking. I definitely went straight back into it. But for me, it was I didn't want to sit and wallow and have to think about things and have to, like, what good would it have done me to not go back to the course? Yeah. Like what would it have changed? But by going back to the course, I was able to keep my mind engaged. I continued pursuing my goals and it gave me less time to be sad.
So I think that's a great focus because an idle mind is a devil's playground. And I think it is important that we all cope and we all, get through our traumas and stuff that happen. But there's a certain magic that comes with staying a little bit productive, right? Like getting yourself in motion so that the momentum doesn't build in a negative direction. And I think that's probably the key thing. If somebody's going through a hard time, get some momentum going in your life. And it can really help propel you out of that situation.
Yeah, it's that, and really understanding that the person, if it's something as detrimental as a passing away or whatever it may be, whoever it is that you're mourning over wouldn't want you to give up your life. So just keep going and keep your mind busy, for me personally.
Moving forward, so what happened? Let's just talk a couple other milestones, and then we'll wrap this up for a landing. I want to just share the rest of your military journey and leading to where you're at now.
Okay, so I obviously recycled, went back, finished the course, the captain's career course. Here's another quick no, but yes, I can, is at the end of my captain's career course, because I was so focused now on just moving forward. I didn't want to sit and have an idle mind. I wanted to keep going, go back, get back into the course. There's a lot of breaks in between courses. Like, you have to wait for where the course is big as the civil affairs qualifications course, or really any of them, you do different class, like a 12-week class, 1 month break, 10-week class, 1 month break, and it kind of all combines to make the entire course. So the intro course for my civil affairs qualification course overlapped. That first week of that course overlapped with the last week of my CCC. And I had no mindset to want to wait 2 months for the next intro course to start. It sounded horrible to me. So I talked to the instructors in in my captain's career course, also talked to the instructors of the intro course, and basically figured out what would they give leeway on. So, hey, I really want to move. I understand it overlaps. What can I miss?
Yeah.
So instructors of CCC said, hey, I need you for turning in your equipment, and I need you to do the end of course evaluation in your final test. And that was like, 10 hours of the 5 days that were scheduled. Intro course said, hey, you don't even have to be here the first day. You just need to do X, Y, and Z. Worked it out. Basically worked it out so I can get started. And I pulled anyone along with me who also didn't want to wait. Some people just didn't want to sit around for 2 months. Other people wanted to. So a couple people jumped on my boat, came over with me, and we started intro.
What's your lesson from that segment, from recycling to moving yourself forward?
I guess it's a continued of, figure out the why, and figure if I want something, it doesn't hurt to ask. Right. They could have been like, no, and then I would have been a recycle, but I figured out what the priority was of each instructor, and I was able to overlap it and get what I wanted out of it.
I want to pull that back just a little bit further. So describe a little bit how, what should have happened in that situation for you?
So what should have happened is I should have finished the last week of captain's career course. And, that's a very light course anyway, a light week. So I would have been in and out of the classroom probably for half the week, just doing random out processing stuff, because it's an out processing week.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would have in process got moved over to my new unit, which was the qualification course. And then we would have sat in a cafeteria-like room, like an extra spare break room, for the next 2.5 months, waiting for the next intro course to start, because at that point I would have missed the first week, and they weren't going to just let me miss a whole week without talking to them. And I would have been slated to start the next course in a couple months.
Yeah. So basically we chopped a bunch of time off, and we did that by always being curious, always asking why. Well, so, hey, I'm going to be and this is important too, because I think a lot of people are victims to their life. They just react to it, right? They just react to their life. They react to their military career instead of being proactive and figuring out what they can do to get to what they want. That's a common theme with you.
Especially if it's what's supposed to happen, right? It's not uncommon for people to end a course, wait a couple months, start the next course.
Yeah, it seems like socially normal, right?
Right. It's the norm. The course overlaps. You have to wait, but why? So
all right. So we go to the next section. We go to the Q course now, right?
Yes. So now I started intro. I worked my way in, started intro, jumped in. It was great. I did great.
This is the qualification course for civil affairs. So this is what we're doing right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I jump in process, integrate myself into the class. A lot of them have known each other for a while because they've all been sitting in that cafeteria waiting to start. So they've all gotten their, we all know each other. I don't really know a lot of them, but I jump in, we start. I don't even remember how many weeks the course is. I want to say it's like 3 months. Yeah. PT in the morning, class in the daytime, different schedule. It was great. I did great. I was near the top of the class. I probably would have made commandant's list. If at the commandant's list is when you're at the top 10, I believe, because obviously academically I grind and I do really well. But then we get to the physical part at the very end. In order to pass the qualification course, you have to pass a 12-mile ruck march, 35 pounds in 3 hours. And I didn't. And our ruck, normally they put it more towards the front so that you don't do the entire Q course and then fail the ruck. And it's like you wasted all your time. They normally put it in the front, but because of weather and lightning storms and too much heat, it kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. So at this point, I've completed the entire Q course. Well, not the entire part of that course, the 12 weeks.
Yep.
Made it to the very end, right before our culminating exercise, and I failed the ruck. So once I failed the ruck, I was recycled. There's nothing about it. Like it's a hard gate. You either
Yeah,
pass
you go
it or
back to
fail
the
it.
beginning. Recycle is going back to the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am now removed from the relationships, the class, everything that I've learned and done for the last 12 weeks. And I am put back into that cafeteria room I was telling you about to wait for the next course.
Yeah, that's a horrible experience to go through. Like you're just sitting there feeling helpless and just waiting and just letting the clock tick and just waiting for your next shot to go.
Oh, it was awful. They did have resources for me to like learn some more mental fortitude and to, work better physically that I could focus on, but it sucks. You work your ass, you work super
you're
hard.
good. You can curse. It's good.
You can curse here, yeah. But anyways, you work your ass off. You try to be the best. You work well with everyone. You build that rapport. You build that, confidence in other people that you are a competent person, because it's a big thing, right? You have like, at first you're just some random person no one knows. And then you're female in a, male-dominated industry, which some people say doesn't matter, but it does a little bit.
Absolutely does.
And you have to really, really build the confidence of the people you're working with. And then they just move on without me, and I have to do it all over again. And I have like the super not best mindset because I'm just like irritated. I have to do the course again.
Yep.
But here I am, even though I finished the entire 12 weeks, and I can be wrong on this whole 12-week thing. I'm just going with it. But even though I finished the whole 12 weeks, they required me to do the entire course again, all the stuff I've already passed and did fine with. So I wait like a month or so and get put back into the next course.
What was the dream you were chasing? Can you summarize it? What was the dream? What did you want? What did you want during this period?
Which period? The first part or after I've recycled?
After you recycled, I mean, what were you thinking about?
Oh my God, brucking all the time.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm not good at it. And I just had to keep doing it.
Was quitting an option for you in your head?
No, it hurt, but I was never going to quit. I would never quit. So I just trained, woke up early, threw on the ruck, ran around forests with weight on my back.
What do you
Kind
think?
of normal
What
near Fort
do you
Bragg.
think inspired you? What do you think fueled you during that period to go back through the Q course after all this adversity, family issues and trauma there, and then just this continuous ups and downs? What do you think it fueled you to succeed in this time where you recycled the Q course?
The alternative, right? I came into the Q course in selection because I didn't want to be an S1 anymore. And I still didn't want to go back. Like that was my alternative. My alternative was going back and being an S1 for the rest of my military career. But I wasn't happy with it, which is why I went to selection in the first place.
Yeah, not going back. And that's such a good story because I have so many young guys that are following me on like Instagram going through the Ranger assessment program the pipeline. They're going to be an infantryman, then Ranger, and in there, it's just like any special operations pipeline. It looks great on paper, but sometimes it takes a long motherfucking time to get to your dream, And during that period, you have to remember where you came from, and that there is no going back. Like we're not going to go back. There's only one way to go, and that's uphill this whole time. So
I was not happy. I loved the Army. I just wasn't happy doing my other job. And that was my alternative.
Well, you outgrew it. Right. So That's what we're talking about here. Okay. So, sight set on finishing the Q course, and you start working your ass off for the ruck, the 12-mile ruck march. Go ahead and pick it up from there.
All right. So I'm working a lot, integrating back into the intro that I should have done and waited for, integrating right back in with these people. I know none of them now. And now I have even less, confidence in the people, or the people around me have less confidence in me. Cause now I'm not just some girl in their class. I'm some girl in their class who just failed.
Yep.
So don't talk to me. You don't know what you're talking about. Right.
Yep.
Doesn't matter that I was top academically in the class and that I did very well on everything besides the ruck. I'm a recycle. So I'm now whatever, we're not listening to you.
Well, yeah, you get looked at differently.
Mm-hmm.
You get looked at differently in that situation where you look almost like you're automatically outcasted until you prove yourself.
Yeah. And it takes even more to prove yourself because a lot of things are team events. So we do our team events, we do our team planning. I have my input, but nobody cares what I have to say because obviously I'm a recycle. So I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's very hard because you have to learn how to reintegrate yourself, when to sit back and watch and, not get offended and not overstep and just make your way back through the course again.
I'll talk. This is a great chance for a leadership lesson, because what you did successfully is you integrated with a new team several times. Yeah. And I think that you've done it. You've done it well. You did it at your unit. You did it at selection. You did it at the Q course multiple times. So when somebody wants to, maybe they see themselves as not fitting in. Okay. Because that's really what we're talking about. I don't really know if I fit in, and I'm kind of creating this perception around myself, and they want to be integrated with the team. What's your approach to get integrated with them?
So you do the basics well, right? So for us, morning formation every morning, do it well. Don't be late, be on time. Don't have people looking for you. You start establishing some sort of respect when you start doing the basics well.
Build your credibility.
Build your credibility, because if you can't even do the basics right, like, what are you doing here? So wake up on time, wake up early, be there early, be someone that people can rely on, that they're not looking for and that they're not having to answer for.
Yeah.
And then for me, so knowing that I had the answers, I really had to find the fine line between when to share, when to speak up, and when to let other people do it, because, they're coming through the course the first time. Just because I have the answers doesn't mean I need to be a know-it-all. And it doesn't mean I need to force myself and my information on anyone. I just need to really manage when and where my information is necessary and my input is useful to the team versus being overly, I don't know the word, but.
Yeah, no, overly helpful. Because there's a point where, when you want people to grow and you want people to succeed, if you help them all the time, then it actually hurts them. And not only that, but it's a great way to come off as somebody that likes recognition for their ego, right?
Right.
And you don't want to come off as like they call it a spotlight ranger, right? I don't want to be a spotlight ranger. I want to be a person that is here to help out others succeed. So it takes a very high level of awareness to realize when you should insert yourself and when you shouldn't, and let everybody else kind of go.
Yeah, it's awareness, it's a control of ego, and it's really being able to read the room. You have to be able to sit back, read the room, understand different personality types, and when you are being useful, when you're not. So it's a very learned skill. I moved around a lot when I was younger. I don't think I mentioned that, but I went to like 6 elementary schools in 5 years, something crazy. So I learned at a young age how to integrate myself into new settings, and it really starts with setting back and understanding everyone around you before you start throwing yourself in and trying to do too much.
Yeah. You said read the room. What does that mean to you exactly?
That means sitting back and, understanding personalities, understanding what makes people tick, what makes people like, what they're good at, what they're bad at, where you can be helpful, and how they receive information. You have to really pay attention to everything that's going on around you before you just bulldoze through and try to do things your way.
So if I'm trying to become better at reading a room, which I think this is an awesome skill that everybody needs to learn how to do. You walk into a new environment, there's a team in there, a small group of people, and you're trying to get a sense of the room itself, right? A lot of people can't read a room. They go into a room and all they can think about is themselves. And they're just kind of like, they just want to go and hide out. So when you walk into a room, and maybe you can use an example of the Q course or whatever comes to mind for you, and you're trying to get an idea of what that environment is like, what are the things that you're looking for? And yeah, what are you looking for exactly?
I'm looking for, so who's the natural leader? If I'm coming into a group that's already established, right? Who's already the natural leader in the group? Who's the one that everyone kind of turns to for information, and that they have the most respect in the room? Who is like the most?
Hold on. This is you're doing this subconsciously. Okay. Yeah. People don't know how to do this.
Okay.
So I want to make sure this is important. You said something very, very important. In any team, there's always, I call it the rock star. There's always the rock star. You walk in and you find that person. What do you look for in the leader of the pack? How do you identify that person?
It's the one everyone's kind of looking towards. It's the one who, when they speak up, people are listening, but they're not looking like, stop talking. They're looking like, hey, I want to hear what you have to say.
So it's not the loud, verbose person that's very chatty and like the social butterfly guy. It's not that one. It's the person that maybe are they more reserved, but you're what you're really saying is that when they speak up, if there's instant, like people are listening to this person.
Yeah, because they can be a social butterfly. They can be more reserved. Whoever they are, though, they're the ones that command the respect of the room when they speak.
Okay, so you want to find the leader of the pack, and you're going to do that by observing, see who everybody's going to respect, and then what's your next approach to get a read on the room and get integrated with that team?
So then I'm also identifying other personalities. There's different types, like you said. There's the social butterfly of the room, and then there's a social butterfly that people like, and there's that obnoxiously know-it-all person that nobody likes.
Yeah.
So and then there's the people who are just, then you're also identifying like who's super chill and who's willing to just talk to anyone, and the less judgy people. And then you have the more judgy people who are egotistic. People still respect them because they're smart, and when they talk, they're not wrong. But that might be the person in my case who's like, don't look at me, not don't look at me, but like, I don't care what you have to say, like I'm smarter than you. Yeah. So you have to identify who all those people are, because you're going to interact with each person and their personality type and how they fit in a group differently.
Okay. So once I have an idea of some of those key players in the team, and you're getting a read for the room, the whole objective is to get a read on the room so that you can get one, integrated, and then two, probably influence. And then also get your position in the room too, get integrated so that where you have credibility and respect inside of the team. Right. So what I'm hearing is when you pick out these people, you're understanding them, and then you're going to meet them where they're at. Like you're going to go talk and interact with them according to how they are. Do you find your way to the leader of the pack? And if you do, what do you do with them when you find them?
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably one of the first people that I start trying to build that relationship with and start integrating with, because okay, so going back to my specific case with that leader in the room, whoever it was, I'm going to talk to them, let them know my story, what happened, where I'm coming from, the information that I do have. And like, hey, if you need anything, let me know. I've been through this. I've done X, Y, and Z. This is how I can help the group. So now the person who's more or less calling the shots in the group knows what I can provide.
That's so good. Like if there's a segment of this podcast to rewind and listen to over and over and over again, it's this segment right here. And the reason why this is so important for people to understand is it's going to help out with anybody that's going through a military school and selection tremendously. But on top of that, this is the same way that getting integrated with people in that are more successful than you and getting integrated in them and their team, is exactly how it works. So if you come into that room and this person, that's very, very successful, you want to work your way to them and build a relationship with them because you want to be integrated in their team. Well, if I find them and identify them, I go to them and then I exchange value. I lead with value. I meet them and I give them some value. I say, hey, here's my background. Here's what I'm capable of doing. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. And now all of a sudden you have an instant connection with that key leader, and they're going to start respecting you, which is going to carry over to the rest of the team. And now you're integrated. That's what I'm hearing.
Exactly. They're going to start respecting you, like you said. And then when they start, that leader is going to use whatever they have at their disposal to be successful. So now that they know what the new me, what I bring into the group, I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to, participate, because I'm not going to act like I'm too good to be in the class. So I'm going to participate when participation is necessary, but I'm going to not overly push myself on the group. I'm going to sit back and wait till he asks for my help. Then I'll be able to display my competency and what it is that I bring to the group. And by bringing that competency to the group, now the group starts to respect me because I'm helping and I'm bringing things that they need.
Yeah. And what this amounts to, what this equates to, is peer leadership. Guys, I get a lot of questions about how to lead your friends, how to lead your peers. Well, this is a great way to do it. Find the key leader that's already in there, get integrated, develop respect, and then just re-listen to this exact part that we're talking about here over and over again to get the strategies on how to create influence around the peers to your left and right. Well said, Yasmine. That was like a masterclass on getting integrated with the team. It really was.
Done it a couple times.
Yeah, through necessity. But hey, this is why you succeeded. So we get integrated with the team and we go on. What happens after that?
We get integrated with the team. We pass the ruck march at 2 hours, 59 minutes and like 48 seconds.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Continue on through. That doesn't matter. It passed, it was less than 3 hours.
Yep.
We make it, finish the course, end up building rapport with the team. From what I remember, got along with basically everyone on the team. make it to our culminating exercise, which is Operations Les Tiller. And that's just where they test everything in a live scenario. What we've done, we like jump in to our training scenario and we run through a fake village and we do C8 civil affairs things, right? So in our final assessment, one of the big things for civil affairs is engagements, and engagements being just talking to civilians or talking to other people. They judge you on how you can talk to people.
Yeah, guys, these are like interactions on the battlefield is what's
there you
happening
go.
here.
Interactions on the battlefield, right? And the job of civil affairs, you have to be really good at it with all different types of people, military, civilian, leaders, villagers, doesn't matter who, that's what they train us on.
Yeah, we probably should have started with a little bit of this, but just like in maybe a couple of sentences, what's the role of civil affairs overseas?
So many different answers to that. Civil affairs, we deploy four-man teams to various countries, not necessarily ones in war. So like places, sure, Iraq, Afghanistan, the places, but we also, have people in South America, Asia, Europe. We're kind of everywhere. And we build the military relationship with the civilian populations.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. You're the connective tissue between the civilian populace and the military. And you're there to accomplish a joint mission between the two of them in a civil environment.
Yep. There you go.
That's beautiful.
I think that's the best way I've ever said it.
So the pressure's on you, perform. Okay. Keep going.
So in order to be trusted as four people going to various countries representing the United States Army and interacting with, the civilian population, being the representatives, you have to be good at talking to people. So that's a big part of our test. So I go through, I get put in some really rough engagements and I fail again. So at this point, I am like devastated. I passed the stupid ruck.
Did they tell you why you failed? Did they tell you where your shortcomings were? If you had to guess, what would you say the reason?
It was confidence.
Okay.
It was confidence. I got put into some very dicey scenarios because they put you in easy ones. Like you might just meet good old boy on the street who wants to give you and talk to you, be your best friend. And you might meet.
And you're essentially negotiating a situation, right? They're going to create a scenario and you're going to negotiate and you want to create a win-win for both sides in this scenario. And some of them are going to be really hostile and some of them are going to be very easy to negotiate through, right? That's what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And it is very, how do I say this? So I'm a woman, right? So in other cultures, sometimes people just don't respect women. That's just how their culture is. Like they won't even talk to you because you're a woman. Like they don't care that you're a military officer or a leader from the United States. Like
right.
You're a woman, don't talk to me.
Right.
So knowing this about other cultures, not all, but some of the ones we interact with, they make it sometimes a little bit harder, in my opinion. I don't know, I don't run the course, but I felt like they put me in the dicier of situations to make sure that I could handle it.
Yeah, more confrontational, more hostile.
More, you're a woman, why are you talking to me?
Yeah.
And I just got put in my place. I wasn't confident enough. I was a little I was so concerned about passing the evaluation. And this guy was just very confrontational and I wasn't as strong of a leader as I should have been in that scenario, I think.
So you learned so they said, hey, we're not a fit right now. We need to work on your confidence is the way you interpreted it. And we say, you need to be better in these type of engagements, these key leader engagements. So we went back through it. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So we recycled again, got taken out. Bye-bye to all my new friends again. And I basically was told I was going back to being S1 because as a officer, you can't recycle more than once. Based on that timeline thing I was talking about earlier, if you stay in a qualification course like this for too long without getting an evaluation and an actual job, it hurts your chances of promotion. And if you don't promote, you get attritioned out of the military. So in order to protect an officer's career, they're only allowed to go through with one recycle. And then after that, you didn't cut it, you have to go.
Right.
But, we know me and I was like, but wait,
Why?
Why? How? But okay, so I understood the why. It was to protect. It was to protect me. So they say it was protect me so that if I failed a third time, I would have enough evaluations to be considered for promotion to major.
Yep.
So as an S1, I had some background on how promotions work and how evaluations work. And I knew that if you are a first lieutenant promotable, this is really technical, but basically if I was promotable as a lieutenant working in a captain's job, then that means that that evaluation counted towards that time that they were talking about. It counted towards my promotion to major. And I had that. And I knew I had that.
You
so
found a loophole.
I found a loophole.
Okay. So you found a loophole and you negotiated your way back through when you were supposed to go ahead and just go back to the regular conventional.
Yeah. I negotiated my way, leveraged some rapport building relationships. Some of the instructors, I wasn't the first time I recycled, I could have gone through and been just like a little shithead that no one wanted to deal with because I was so disgruntled at the whole organization for letting me go through the course and failing the ruck. And I hate you all, but it was my fault. I failed the ruck. I had a great attitude. I got along with the instructors very well. A lot of them were very surprised that I failed the engagements. They were like, I don't even understand how you failed. At that time I was like, yeah, me neither. This is dumb. But I had a couple of them stick up for me. I brought proof that it wasn't going to affect my timeline. And I got them to sign an exception and let me go through a third time.
Man, what was the lesson for getting them to sign an exception? Again, maybe it's some stuff that we've already said before, but again, for somebody that is feeling rejected, discouraged, there's no way in hell. If you had to dig deep to help them, point them in the right direction, what do you tell them?
You really have to look at all the loopholes. In my case, if I didn't have that timeline thing going in my favor, I think my fourth loophole would have been going to the reserves and going civil affairs there, because you're allowed to do that.
So every route that you're wargaming in your head takes you to success. It's never when you guys hear that like social media meme that's like quitting's not an option, failing's not an option. This is the intent of that meme. This is what I'm talking about. You can lose, you can fail, you can quit. All those things are true. But if you just stay focused on what you actually want, what ends up happening is your brain starts moving you, in alignment with that desire over and over and over again. It starts revealing solutions and loopholes to you. So this is Yasmine's specialty here. It's sole focus on the ideal outcome.
Yeah. I'm a logical thinker. So I just run through different scenarios. Well, can I do this? Can I do that? And so some things like, yeah, let me try it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, all the reasons you can, none of the reasons you can't.
Exactly.
When do we arrive at the dream? When does that happen here? So what was that?
Third time.
What was that like? Yeah.
It was great. So there was a lot of people who actually failed the same course I did. It was unofficially determined. It was just a lot more difficult than the normal ones for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So there was probably 12 or 13 of us who failed. And we were given the opportunity, instead of going through the course and doing everything that we already did, like I had to do the first time, we were given the opportunity to work together and with the resources that Special Operations provides to really focus in and hone in on our engagement skills. How to talk to people, conflict management, negotiation management. We spent the next 3 months working with each other to be the best that we could be at everything that has to do with engagements.
When was your oh shit moment? I made it.
I went back in to the culminating exercise after that and passed. And then, I made it. Then I graduated and it was great.
Yeah. So
it was the day that I got my go on my evaluation in the field.
And what did that feel like?
Oh, it felt so good. I didn't have to go be an S1. Made it.
That had to feel amazing. And the odds getting there were just, the adversity was incredible. So we end up graduating. So you end up getting a different, what color is the beret?
It's maroon.
Is it maroon? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You get the maroon beret and just moving it. What was like after there's usually this decompression time after you get through something like that, right?
Yeah.
You decompress and then you're kind of either in the unit or you're doing the dream, right?
Yeah.
What was that moment for you?
So that was it, right? So I decompressed. I finished. I wasn't the little shithead in the cafeteria who was waiting to try again. I was like the free bird who graduated and cool your civil affairs now go. Actually, directly after that course, we go into language. So I'm pretty sure we did language after that. Yeah, we did language after that because they don't want to waste teaching language to people who can't even pass the course.
Yeah.
So, I graduated and it was amazing. I had friends in that class now too. Everyone was celebrating with me. We had like our in-between time to language, but that time was joyful. It wasn't stress and how am I going to fix this and how am I going to be better? It was my decompressed moment. Did language, that went fine. And after graduating language, I feel like that was it. I think it was language. And then we officially got pinned with our new branches.
Yeah. What was your experience like as a civil affairs officer?
Oh, it was great. I went into my unit. Nobody cared that I failed a couple times. I was just their new team leader. Did great. Top of my company. I was given the most tactical mission set that we have. I had a great team. My team sergeants were always great, but I learned very early on from all of the difficult situations I was put in on how to be a good leader, how to, work with other people. I don't come in smashing doors and saying I'm in charge and I'm going to do everything my way. I work with everyone that's on my team and yeah, it went great.
What a tremendous story. I mean, just an incredible story. And I know there's even more to your story. You'll probably keep going for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, I know. We're like way over time, but
yeah, no, but it's just so good. And I guess looking back on that achievement, was it worth it for you going through everything?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would have never changed it. Well, I would have not failed probably the third time, but yeah. I met great people. Like I loved being in civil affairs.
What'd you learn about yourself going through all that adversity?
At the time, not much, right? After talking to you before this, I went back and I looked at myself a little bit and I like to ask why. I like to ask why. And I like to challenge myself.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not growing, you're dying. Right. And I think that's you and from the outside looking in, you're able to just set your sights on what you want. And as long as you have that vision, you're going to ask, how do I get there? And you're going to challenge the why to do it over and over and over again.
I get called stubborn very often, and I am, but it works in my favor.
For somebody that I want to talk to you about some other things here as we close up, but for somebody that is going through their journey, it could be a career, it could be their business they're building, it could be their military path, and they're in the middle of all that journey, maybe feeling a little bit discouraged. What advice do you have to them for that cycle that they're in?
If you're feeling discouraged, it's understandable. I cried a lot. I was sad a lot, but then you wake up the next day and you just work towards your how are you going to change the situation that you're in now? So it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed, but the next step is to step out of that, be in it for that moment, step out of it, then just start charging towards how you're going to fix it, change it, or do what it is, get to the place that you want to be.
Yeah. It's focusing on the day and being successful in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a process for being successful in the day? Like, do you have anything that you focus on to make the most out of the day that you're in?
So one of the things I used to do, I haven't done it as much lately, but I would make a list the night before of the things I needed to do the next day. And it wasn't like, I'm going to try to do these things. It was like, hey, tomorrow I have to wake up and go on a ruck because I have a ruck in 4 months, but I have to get up and do it. So it was on my list, and I would just get up and make sure that I was attacking what it is that I needed to do to work towards my next goal.
And what you told me once about your 3 C's, competence.
Yeah. So that's how I fit in, right? That's a part of my leadership and how to get along with everyone working in a male environment.
What is that exactly? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So it's competence, confidence, and consideration, right? So you have, I've said it, competence a couple of times, right? You prove yourself. You don't have to go in and try to prove yourself. As long as you're a competent person and you can be trusted and you get done what you need to get done the correct way and your competence shows through and people start trusting you. And when they trust you, they're going to be there for you They know that you're going to be there for them, and they don't feel like they have to double check your work or what you're doing. It's like, Yazz has got that. Don't worry, I gave it to Yazz, it'll get done, right? Like that's the status I like to be in with people. The next one is confidence. You have to believe in yourself. For me, I actually learned this with you in ROTC and our instructor is, you have to be confident. So if you're not confident in yourself, no one else, it doesn't matter how confident you are. If you don't think you can do it, why would anyone else think you can do it? Nobody's going to. And then the last one is consideration. Like, don't be a jerk. Nobody needs you to prove yourself. No one needs you to be an ass. Just humanize people, even if they're being rude to you. Like, maybe they're coming from a different spot. I always try to humanize people and think about where they're coming from when they do things. If I'm offended, if I don't like it, I'm like, well, okay, well, he's probably doing it because of this, and this. Like, it's not okay, but now I know how to work with it.
It's really good. 3 C's, guys. It's for being success in your life and in your day, even at the micro level: competence, confidence, and consideration. That's worth listening to over and over again. As we take this to a landing now, I know you're excited. You got some future projects that you're working on. You're potentially building some things. What's ahead for you? What's next for you?
Next for me is trying to get a new job at my company that I'm currently with.
Sorry, my fault. I did kind of like gloss over your whole, hey, I decided to get out of the military. I don't want to go into detail about it, but I think that you had a successful career, right? And then you decided at some point to go ahead and separate from the military. You've become a mom. You have a stable career now. You're applying all the skills that the military taught you. You're into some real estate now. You're also getting into entrepreneurship. You want to just kind of talk just briefly about the current projects that you're working on and what's ahead for Yasmine?
Yeah. So my current house is my current real estate project. I'm definitely looking at starting some Airbnbs up. I am looking at starting a survival school here in Georgia to focus on family survival. It's like camping with an emphasis on survival. So it's camping with an itinerary to get people who are not used to, who aren't your typical survival school person, to come through and really start learning those skills and getting reconnected with nature. And I'm also looking at getting into more speaking.
Where can people find you and connect with you? What would be a great place for them to go? Are you on Instagram? What's the best way for them to reach out to you if they want to connect?
Yeah, so they can either reach me on my Instagram handle is my first and last name, Yasmine Buenaseda, and that is YAS. M as in Mike, I, N as in November, E, B as in Bravo, U, E, N as in November, A, S, E, D as in Dad, A. Or they can email me at info@yasminebuenaseda.com.
Cool.
Same spelling as before.
Yeah, you guys will put it in the show notes. You'll have it, and you know where to find her. 2 final questions, and then we'll close it up. Is what was the reason you decided to separate from the military?
My daughter. I am very family oriented. I've always wanted kids. I joined civil affairs because I was single and I wanted to deploy, do all the great things. I had her. I respect everyone who stays in the military with kids, but I couldn't do it. I wanted to be present for everything.
Yeah. I think that's it's a choice you made. You know what you wanted once again, right?
Yeah. Had no idea where I was going to work, what I was going to do. But I put in my packet and I went from there.
Yeah. What are you excited about for the future?
I'm excited about building out my business and just building my empire.
Yeah. You're going to do well. Any final comments to the listeners, just to somebody that, is looking for some inspiration, or maybe they're in any leg of your journey? Any final comments to the listener right now?
Just, wherever you are on your journey, don't be scared. Don't be scared of what could happen. Don't be scared of how am I going to support myself? How am I going to support my family? As long as you know that you're willing to put in the work, you're going to find a way to do it. Well, I got my job offer when I got out, literally the day after my final day in the Army. But I didn't know that. But you know what? I was going to figure it out. If I had to work at Home Depot, McDonald's, whatever, while I started building out the rest of my empire, I was going to do it. But I wasn't going to let the fear of not knowing what was going to happen stop me from achieving my goals.
Well said. Man, awesome episode today. Guys, gals, ladies, gentlemen, this is one you can come back to over and over again, but I learned a ton, learned everything, got to add to my arsenal of leadership, my, tools for success. And we learned a ton. I think there were some great takeaways when it comes to leading a team, getting integrated with a team, being confident in yourself, and just staying mission focused until you get the job done, and realize that there is going to be adversity ahead. It could take your goal could take the exact amount of time that you think. It could take several years, and your path could be a long one, going in and out and weaving and stuff. But if you stay the course, you're going to get there. So, Yasmine, you set an excellent example for your friends and family, and you're going to change a lot of lives by taking the time out and do this podcast. And thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. If you found value in today's episode, if you laughed, if you learned, if you were inspired, just make sure to share it with a friend. That's how we grow the podcast. And until next time, be the leader.
I need some motivation. Every day I try a little harder, but my dedication. Keep my head way, way above the water. Proud of myself when I yell at the wall. Begging to run, but I needed to crawl. I see the finish line up ahead, trying to get traction from all of this tread. I am a king, I am a queen. I am more than the people can see. I am strong when I'm needing to be. Vulnerability's nothing to me. You can try, but I'm unshakable. My successes is never debatable. I'm chameleon, I'm so interchangeable. Here's to you and all that you are capable. You gotta go hard, better get it.